host of the Gridiron.
All right. Welcome to the Gridiron, baby. If you can give this video a thumbs up and maybe share this video, that would be absolutely freaking phenomenal. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. It's totally free of charge. What do you got to lose? But if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you want to help support my channel out, description box below, very top link takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So once again, if you want to help support my channel out, it would mean so much to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. And then finally, just underneath that, there's another link in that description box. It takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We have over 9,900 members in the group, and that is doing simply marvelous, might I add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I got internet access, I am putting stuff in this group on there 365. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. Well, the season got underway tonight. 2 low-life scumbag, possibly humanly worthless scumbag pieces of trash teams that you could possibly get, the Cowboys, and of course the absolute most worthless, humanly pieces of human garbage trash team ever, the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, no better example of that than Carter spitting on Dak Prescott right in the beginning there. Just absolute worthless piece of scumbag, absolute human piece of trash. I hope they kick him out of the league because he's a scumbag. The Eagles are scumbags. They're just trash. And so, but hopefully tomorrow we won't have any worthless scumbags on the field. Should be a good one with the Chiefs and the Chargers. Looking forward to that one. I'll be watching because I'll be doing stuff on the computer here, editing the videos and all that stuff, and putting the videos up on my YouTube channel and everything. I got while watching the football game. So that one I'm really looking forward to. I didn't have a chance to watch the one tonight, but I don't watch the Eagles anyway. Life is short, and I would rather, watch paint dry than waste 3 hours of my life. Well, I'm not happening. Not happening. My life is short. I'm entering the fourth quarter, and I'm not gonna waste 3 hours of my precious life that I have left remaining on this earth watching the Eagle. That ain't happening. So, but I will be watching the game tomorrow. So. But it's like that the big thing going is Andrew Thomas going to play? Is he not going to play? Of course, he's been saying all along. Obviously, week 1 is the goal. There's no. There's what he had done. There's no time frame. He even had surgery back in April to remove a screw that was causing him some type of discomfort. So. Maybe that's that other operation that he had, I believe it was in April, maybe that's what's causing some, who knows. But obviously the big thing is that you want, when he does take the field, you want to just wind him up, put him on the field and say, brother, we'll see you at the end of the year. Good luck. God bless. You're a left tackle. You don't want him out there on the field after one series. He's, I'm feeling a little something there. Maybe I should take, and then he comes back 2 weeks later and you put him out there for another series or 2. I don't know. He comes off, bows back. You don't want that. When he goes in there, if he has to come off again because of injury, you want it to be another injury, something else, something totally unrelated to this Lisfranc injury. So, hopefully, it is what it is, right? Washington does not have a superior, unbelievable, talented defense, right? They got a good offense. I mean, they got some good players on defense, but they're we're not talking an upper echelon defense here, but their offense is going to be obviously something to contend with, as the Giants are going to say. So the Giants obviously can be interesting to see. Probably going to have Hudson in there if Thomas can't go. Also going to be interesting to see when they go to like maybe some type of jumbo package. Very interesting to see. When does Manhurts come on the field, right? When it's 4th and 1 and they got all the guys lined up on the line. Is it going to be Manhurts? Who's going to be that extra? Is it going to be Neal? Is it going to be Bo? Right? It's going to be very, very interesting to see. But it seems like if Thomas can't go, they're going to try to roll the dice with Hudson and see how well he winds up doing. But the thing was, there was a little glimmer of hope maybe on Wednesday. Now, hey, knock on wood, all right? This is like almost something like a miracle of God, right? I mean, you want to look at the injury report, and the Giants had like one guy on there. I'm like, oh my God. So, of course, it's Andrew Thomas, but he was limited participation, limited in practice. But there wasn't like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 names like they usually are with the New York Giants. So, fortunately, don't want to be Debbie Downer or nothing like that, but I'm sure after this game over, the Giants will wind up having guys on the injury report, as they seem to do all the time. I said, I hope not, but that's something we're used to here. But to go after the off season, the guys had some injuries, some surgeries and stuff like that, played 3 preseason games, had some joint practices and all that stuff and everything. And after all of that, we're getting ready for week 1. Right? We got one guy on the injury list. Not bad. Not bad at all. So that you can't complain about. Of course, unfortunately, it's Andrew Thomas, but hopefully within, that interesting thing too is that, if they don't think that he's close, right, they put him maybe on injury reserve, so you have to maybe miss the first four games, right? You don't want a guy on there, well, he might be out 5 or 6 weeks. Let's keep him on the active 53 and just have him take up a roster. No, you don't want to do that, right? So if they think he's close within a game or two, well, maybe not week 1, maybe week 2, but hopefully week 3, So since he's still on the 53 and all that stuff, Aaron, they think he must be pretty close. So if it's not this Sunday, hopefully very, very soon. As I said, there was a little bit of glimmer of hope when he was limited in participation or limited in practice on Wednesday. But he didn't practice today on Thursday. So, chances are him playing, going out there and just winding up on Sunday and go play a whole full game of football when he's done some stuff. Don't get me wrong. But see, it's like with Sexy Dexy, right? He really hasn't had a lot of going on. He's been doing stuff on the side. That's because he's coming back from injury. But with Sexy, he never plays the whole game anyway. It's not like, all right, Sexy, we're going to have 65 defensive snaps this week against the Commanders. You're going to be on the field for every one of them. That doesn't happen. He's on there for 40 snaps out of the 60 or whatever, So he's never, expected to play every step. But with the left tackle, it's not like, oh, we'll put Andrew Thomas out there for 8 snaps, pull him out, put somebody else in there for 5 snaps, pull them out, put Andrew Thomas back in. And that, the object is to have all the 5 guys obviously on the field all the time, the whole game, every game. So the fact that he wasn't out there, didn't participate on Thursday, really, they have one more practice, Friday, and then Saturday's a travel day, and of course Sunday we're off and running, baby. So, they have some guys who can rush the passer, and it's nothing, Frankie Louvu, Von Miller, they got to, but it's not where they used to have. Remember that they had the Fab Four, had the 4 guys, right? They're all first round picks, right? That's not there anymore. So they certainly have some good players on defense. They're not an unbelievably, amazingly phenomenal defense, right? Hopefully we should be able to move the ball. And if we actually have a kicker this year, right, we should score some points on them. They're probably going to score some points on us as well, too, because the last time we checked, their quarterback's not too shabby, right? So, yeah, a lot of time, I mean, apparently, unlike the football game tonight, I don't think either team had their defense on the field from stuff I was reading in Facebook groups and all of that. So, but usually, it takes it seems like the defenses are maybe a little bit ahead of the offenses and all that. But there should be some points scored this week. Oh, that should be a good game. And if the Giants are to lose, right, I don't expect that. Yeah. I'm looking at like a one-score game either way. Either the Giants just eke it out, or they lose by, like whatever the point spread is. The point spread's what, 6, something like that. So I look for the Giants to lose by a touchdown or less. 27-20, or the Giants win at 23-21 or 24-23, something like that. But that's why you play the games. You don't know how the ball's going to bounce. A bad bounce here, a couple bad calls there, whatever like that. And, it could be a 2-score game, but for the most part, I'm looking at just to be kind of like just a 1-score game either way. But, getting back to Andrew Thomas, whoops, I didn't think I put this up there, did I? So, will he play? Well, as I said, it turns out Thomas was the only player on the team's injury report. And this is for Wednesday and Thursday, right? With his foot. So, where are we at here? Okay, so Washington, though, Dorance Armstrong, he's got a knee. He was limited participation. He's one of their defensive ends for the Commanders. Noah Brown, wide receiver, he was limited, knee. Jonathan Jones, a cornerback, has a hamstring. He was limited. Matt Gay, their kicker, he had an illness, but he was full participation. So it looks like, well, it's tough. I don't know exactly for the man, but it looks like there's a good chance Andrew Thomas won't play. But they Marcus Mariota, the quarterback, he has an Achilles. I'm not sure what slight strain. I don't know, but he was full participation. So looks like quite possibly everybody for the Commanders might suit up, and maybe for the Giants, maybe Andrew Thomas won't. But we will have to wait and see. Let's see, Andrew Thomas. He hasn't. Once again, he hasn't committed to playing yet, and frankly, nobody should expect him to. He isn't the kind of talent you want to rush back. It's been described as sore but manageable, which is exactly the sort of thing that never goes away if you try to force it, and that's what the Giants don't want to do. We got 17 games to go. We got it's a long season, long way to go. If it takes the dude another month, that's what it takes to get your best offensive lineman on the field, okay, to do what he can do. And let's hope the guy doesn't get injured again, right? If it takes another month, it takes another month. It is what it is. I would rather miss the first 4 games and have them strong, right, without any more injuries for the final 13 games than to have them in and out of the lineup for the first couple months, and then it has to take 2 weeks off because it's just that's a little sore. Let's give him a couple weeks, and then it goes back. And you don't want that. They said the big thing when you get them on the field, you just want to wind them up and say, "We'll see you at the end of the year. Go get him, kiddo." Right? So, he's somebody that if we can get that him on the offensive line, we are, a different team. It's just like with Malik Neighbors out there, right? I love me Darius Slayton 10 ways to Tuesday, right? He's a good wide receiver. I remember Bob Papa talked about it quite a bit. Just listening to him, he said, I can give you, quite a bit of tape with Darius Slayton, quite a bit of tape. Times he's literally just run by guys, and the ball's never thrown, and we know who the quarterback is. Right now, hopefully that'll change this year with Mr. Wilson, Mr. Moonball, right? But as I said, I love Darius Slayton. I love Wando Robinson. and all that. And I hope Jalen Hyatt comes around and all that stuff. I'll have to wait and see. But we're a different team with Malik Neighbors on the field. We are a little different team with Andrew Thomas on the field. So let's hope for the best. But I said, and the Cowboys, their defense is not super duper phenomenal either. I mean, the Eagles are apparently, what I was reading anyway, Facebook group. As I said, I'm not watching the game. I was getting ready for this. So apparently the Eagles got a great offense, but they're apparently just walking up and down the field on the Cowboys. So neither one of these defenses, the first couple of weeks that we're going to face, have phenomenal defenses, right? So if Andrew Thomas got to miss the first couple of games, so bad. But when he does come back on the field, well, I'm just don't look back. Run, Forrest, run. Don't look back, buddy. Right. So it's not looking good. I mean, I hope he does, but it's, as of right now, it's not looking like he's going to play on Sunday. All right. So this leads me to this here. Now, I was doing a little bit of digging and diving and all that stuff, and preseason wins doesn't necessarily mean regular season wins. Of course, we all know that, right? Of course, we know that. That is a picture right here, I believe. This is from the 73 season, which it very well could be. This is not the 71 season because 71, Ron Johnson was injured. But in this bright sunlight here, this looks like it could be the 70 or 73 season. 72, I think, wasn't quite this bright, I don't think, when the Giants beat so this is the 73 game right here. This is the 73 game season where the Giants played the Eagles at home. This is the last game the Giants ever played at Yankee Stadium. But anyway, the 73 season, okay, it brings me to, my biggest point right here, which also we kind of like piggyback a little bit off of, talking about this past preseason, right? How the Giants, of course, went 3-0. They scored over 30 points. And actually, I went back to 2000. I didn't go back to 1925. I mean, I'll tell you, in 1925, the Giants played 2 games before the regular season. They won 3-0. Okay, and then they won 26-0. So I can tell you, they didn't score 30 points there in 1925. But I just went back to 2000. Okay, from 2000 to this year, there was only one other year that the Giants scored 30 points or more, I believe. Unless it might have been the 2019 season. They might have scored 30 points all 3 of the 4 games or 2. And the 2019 season, they were undefeated as well too. Okay, I'm going to show you this in just a minute. 2006, they won all their games, right? In preseason, of course, they went to the playoffs, right? But of course, didn't get out of the first round. 2014, they won all their games in preseason. They were 4-0. Of course, we know they didn't go to playoffs in 2014. But my biggest thing, especially with that thumbnail, okay, is that's like my favorite one of all time, because in 1973, the Giants finished. Back then, they played 6 preseason games, right? So the Giants in 1973 were 6-0, and because in 1970 we were 9-5, 1971, 1972 we were 8-6. So we 1973 we go 6-0 in preseason after we went 8-6 in 72. And I'm thinking, we got a good team this year. Because you figure in 72, the Giants lost 6 games. Well, 4 of their 6 losses were teams that went to championship games. 3 of their 6 losses were teams that went to the Super Bowl. They lost twice to the Redskins. They lost once to the Dolphins. The championship, 4 of their 6 losses were teams that went to the championship game. They lost once to the Cowboys, twice to the Redskins, because they were called the Redskins back then. Sorry if I offend anybody by saying Redskins. And then, of course, they lost to the Dolphins 23-13 in Week 13. So 4 of their 6 losses were to a really good team. Actually, all their losses were. They lost to the Bengals, I think, who finished 8-6. They lost 13-10. Then they lost opening day to the Detroit Lions 30-16, I think it was. And the Lions had a good team that year too. So they were 8-6. They had a tough schedule, right? They finished. But I said in '73 they started the preseason 6-0. I'm like, oh man, here we go, baby. Now, of course, they won the first game of the year in '73. They beat the Houston Oilers 34-14. They were up 27-0 at halftime. The first game of the season. I'm like, oh man, Super Bowl, baby. Then the thumbnail, okay, is the final game. Giants tied the Eagles. Final play of the game. Pete Gogolak comes running on the field as time is expiring. Basically, as the time runs off the clock, the ball gets snapped back. Ball gets put down. Pete Gogolak kicks the field goal. The Giants tie the Eagles 23-23 in the final game they ever played in Yankee Stadium. So the Giants are 6-0 in preseason. They start the regular season 1-0-1. I'm like, all right, baby. Okay. If the game was like another minute longer, so the Giants were down around like the Eagles' 10-yard line. They didn't have any timeouts left, and the clock was running. So they couldn't, there was, I don't know, there was under 20 seconds. I think Snead completed a pass to Bob Tucker down around the 10-yard line, somewhere around there, and they had no timeouts. Well, got tackled inbound. Clock was running. They had to run Pete Gogolak on the field, run the offense. Right, so, but if it was still like a minute or so left to go in the game, possibly the Giants throw a touch and they might win that game. But anyway, it is what it is. But so the Giants started 1-0-1 in regular season 1973, and of course 6-0 in the preseason. And then of course they finished the season 2-11-1. So they went 1-11 in their final 12 games of the season. Nothing, so, obviously wins don't mean diddly, right? You got to show me the money, right? But if I share my screen, I'll show you those couple of seasons I was talking about here. Sharing the screen. All right, I gotta once again find this here. There we go. All right, this is the 2014 season right here. I'll show you that. The Giants, of course, they were 4-0, right? Were they 5-0? 5-0. 5-0? 5-0. Oh, okay. They played the Canton game. They played a Hall of Fame game. Say, Fawcett Stadium, Canton, Ohio. They beat the Bills 17-13. But if you see here, right, all 5 games, they won 16-13, 35-24, 27-26, 20-16, and 17-13. So they were 5-0 in preseason, right? They scored over 30 points once, okay? And then, of course, then we know they went up third. They were in third place, and they went up 6-10. So they 5-0 preseason. They finished 6-10, right? Let me go back to 2006. Yeah, I got to go back. It's 2006. I started 2000. I didn't go to the 90s or the 80s or nothing like that. I always go back to like the 1973 season because they were 6-0 in preseason, and then they absolutely sucked in the regular season. All right, so here we go. 2006 with Tom Coughlin, right? They won all these games, right? They lost their first game of the season, right? The Manning Bowl, right? They lost 26-21 to the brother, right? I guess this is probably the first Manning Bowl, right? First game of the season, East Rutherford, right? But, it's here, right? We scored over 30 points one time, right? But we won all of our 4 of our regular season games, preseason games, I'm sorry. 17-16, 17-0, 13-7, 31-23, right? But, this is 2006. Now, to be fair, 2006, the Giants, they go to the playoffs, right? They were 8-8, went to the playoffs, and they lost in the first round to the Beagles, to the Philadelphia Scumbags. So, once again, they were 4-0. Actually made the playoffs, but they were only 8-8. They were not like any type of juggernaut team or nothing like that, okay? So that's 2006. Then if I go to next season, I'll go up to 2019. Oh, well, hold on. Seasons 2019. Man, I said the Giants in 2019 finished 4-12. Okay. But in preseason, I mean, they did really good. Right? Here we go. Yeah, that was. They scored. They were right. Yeah, first game they lost to the Cowboys. But in the preseason, they were 4-0. And this is the only time since 2000 that I noticed, right, that they scored over 30 points in 3 games. Now, the Giants this year, of course, played 3 preseason games. We scored over 40 once. But in all 3 of them, we scored over 30 points. So we scored 30 out of 3 games. Here they scored 30 points, but it took 4 games. But even still, they beat the Bengals, but they scored 25 points. But, I mean, this is the only time since 2000 that the Giants actually scored more than 30 points in 3 preseason games. They said they were 4-0. They won all of them. The defense, as you see, is not really phenomenal. They gave up 22 there, 23 there, and 29 there. Okay. But, once again, same thing as this year. We were undefeated 2019 in preseason, undefeated in 2025 preseason. We scored over 30 points in 3 games in 2019. We scored over 30 points in 3 games in 2025. Now, what 2025 has in store for us, who knows? But we do, as I said, once again, I do know that in 4-0 in preseason, scored a lot of points in preseason like we did this year, and we won a 4-12 in 2019. So once again, wins and points and all that in the preseason does not mean, right? Now I'm going to go to my final 2 ones here. I'll just show you. One of them is, I'm going to show you 71. We actually were 0-6 in 71. And that actually translated to the regular season. Because, organized. What the heck? There we go. See, we won a 4-10, right? So we stunk. Our defense was really bad that year. Really, really bad. But you'll notice here, I mean, right? We actually won the first game of the season, 42-40, but we gave up a lot of points. Then we came home. We faced George Allen, his second game ever. He was coaching with the Redskins, but the first time that George Allen was coaching the Redskins, that we faced him at home, Yankee Stadium. He came in and beat us 30-3. So the Giants defense gave up 70 points after the first 2 games. I mean, the defense was just horrible that year. Absolutely atrocious that year. But you'll notice here in the preseason, we were even worse, right? We lost all 6 games in the preseason, okay? 20-3, 30-7, 26-14, 27-14, 20-14, and 30. Somehow we lost 35-6 to the Houston Oilers, who were not very good back then. 35-6. We lost 20-3, 30-7. I mean, we're just horrible. Absolutely atrocious. In 1971, we were 0-6 in the preseason, and of course, we were, we went a 4-10 in the regular season. All right, but let me show you. And let me see, 2 seasons here. 19. All right, here we go. 1973. Here we go. The Giants were 6-0 in preseason. Right. Okay. We beat the Browns 21-10. We beat the Eagles 42-21. We beat the Steelers 29-24. Beat the Jets 45-30. And we actually 2 of the games, right? We scored over 40 points. I mean, we beat the Patriots 13-7, and we opened up against played out in San Diego. We beat the Chargers, who were not very good back then either. Beat them 28-3 in 1973. Okay. So the Giants started off, we're 6-0 in preseason. 6-0. Then, of course, then you go, as I said here, right? After the first 2 weeks, we beat the Houston Oilers 34-14, and then our last second field goal by Pete Gogolak, we tied the Eagles 23-23. So we started the season 1-0-1. So after the first 8 games, 6 preseason, 2 regular season, we were 7-0. We played 8 games. We didn't lose any. 7-0-1. But of course, as you see here, the rest of the season here, right? That's the rest of the season right there. Oh, my bad. We beat the Cardinals. And it's the only win that we won in the Yale Bowl. We played 12 games. Yale Bowl became our home. played 12 home games in the Yellow Bowl. We only won one game. That was against the Cardinals, 24-13. But that was the only win we had the whole rest of the season. We lost 12-10, 16-14. I mean, just horrible. 42-0 to the Raiders. We lost 31-7. We lost on Monday night. We lost to the Rams 40-6. We lost the last two games of the season 71-13. Throw in the 42-0 drubbing we had to the Cowboys, right? And that was what? I don't know, was it 113 to 13? Is that right? We lost 113-13 in those three games. I mean, we were horrible in 1973. But once again, as I said, just because, right, you have success in the preseason doesn't necessarily, translate to success in the regular season. Okay, even though we were 3-0, we scored points. So it's you got to show me, right? The one nice thing was that except for like maybe the Buffalo game, our second string defense and all that, we were giving up points. The Buffalo was kind of moving the ball up and down the field. But the last two games, our second, third string defense didn't look too bad. Of course, our offense was really, really good. Okay. But against the Jets and the Patriots, our second, third string defense didn't look too bad. The Buffalo game was a little suspect, but once again, it's a whole new ball game, right? Once Sunday rolls around. All right. Now, does Deonte Banks need to grow up? Well, according to somebody close to the Giants, I guess, it might be a possibility. You'd be interested to see, as we're going to see on the depth chart here, okay, what they have listed here is a lot of things. And Daboll's kind of been like tight-lipped, very, very tight-lipped as far as who might be starting cornerback number 2. What they kind of have is Banks / Flott. So it might be a 10-round battle. Go out there, who plays the best? We'll have to wait and see. If it's they might have different packages. If there's like might be a running down. If the offense sends out a running or a heavy jumbo package, or it might be a run or something like that, Giants might put one cornerback out there. If it's a passing situation or they got 3 wide or 4 wide or something like that, whatever, they might send out another cornerback. They might just send out a cornerback, whatever. He plays a series or two, send another cornerback out, play another series or two, and after the game's over with, and coach is, looks at the tape or whatever like that and say, man, I don't know, Banks had a good game this week. Well, we're going to he earned it. He's going to be the starter week 2. We'll see, but he's on a short leash. Well, if something goes wrong or whatever, pull him out and put Flott back in there, but we'll have to wait and see. But, somebody seems to think that Mr. Banks needs to grow up a little bit. A Giants staffer has harsh words for a former first-round pick. He needs to grow up. New York Giants are gearing up for the start of the 2025 season, and the vibe surrounding the team is a bit unique. After a rough 2024 campaign, the hope is that this can be their year where the Giants begin to place the building blocks for the next playoff contending squad. Unless something crazy happens, New York isn't expected to have a great shot of competing for the postseason in a loaded NFC East division. With a slew of new faces in town, the Giants will be looking to answer some big questions at the start of the season. One of those is what the cornerback position will look like, as Banks and Flott are listed as co-starters alongside Paulson and Debo. Ahead of the new season, one anonymous Giants staffer took a shot at Banks, with his comments sure to catch the attention of the New York fan base. Interesting. Giants selected Banks with the number 24 overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. They traded up a little bit to get him as well, too. and he enjoyed a solid rookie season, racking up 64 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 11 passes defense in 15 games of action. However, he wasn't able to build off it that last season, which is, you want the guy to keep, progressing. And in training camp, the hope was that Banks would firmly establish himself as a starting cornerback. Now, you also look at that, too, is that, if Daboll is going to might be, taking the number 1 wide receiver. I did a video on it. I saw an article on this as well, too. And Daboll might be traveling. So, whoever, if we're going up against ABCD Lamb, right, wherever ABCD's at, or whatever side of the field he's on, whatever, that's where a Daboll might want him going, unless maybe ABCD's in the slot. But, wherever the number 1 wide receiver is, okay, for the other team, that's where Daboll might go. So that might send Banks to the other side. Then you figure if Banks is covering the number 2 wide receiver, that should make him hopefully a little bit better, right? But so the hope was that Banks would firmly establish himself as a starting cornerback, but he never managed to do that. Instead, Daboll has been the top option, with Flott seriously challenging Banks for his job. Now, let's not forget, too, Banks needs to step it up, right? But this is a contract year for Flott. Now, whether the Giants want to bring Flott back or not, that remains to be seen. But what Flott wants to do is put some good stuff out there on tape for the other teams to see. Now, he's not going to get $20 million a year, but, I mean, if he can stay healthy, have himself a decent year when he's on the field, if the Giants don't want to bring him back, I'm sure other teams will come knocking. Somebody's going to sign him. Okay, so more chances Flott gets on the field, the better he plays, ka-ching, ka-ching. If it's not with the Giants, it'll be with somebody else. Because a good cornerback in this league is definitely needed, much needed, right? It's a passing league, right? In case you didn't know, right? Let's see. It seems like head coach Brian Daboll may split their reps and see who performs better. Considering the high billing Banks entered the league with and the promise he showed as a rookie, it's been disappointing to see him struggle to lock down a starting job. Now, once again, I mean, it's so difficult. It's so frustrating and all, because the Giants, remember, Deontay Baker traded up to get that dude in the first round, bust, right? We traded up a couple spots to get Banks. I don't want to say bust, but right, we drafted Eli Apple, the number 10 overall pick. Are you kidding me? I mean, we keep drafting these guys in the first round, these cornerbacks. We shouldn't be needing to draft them, but no. Every time we draft a cornerback in the first round, it's like, so. But considering the high billing Banks entered the league with and the promise he showed as a rookie, it's been disappointing to see him struggle to lock down a starting job. According to one Giant staffer, the problem is with the player himself, as the staffer claimed that Banks needs to grow up in order for him to truly find success in the NFL. Now, the thing is, I'm saying is that, you can come here and, and if everything doesn't go right, you can go in a corner and suck your thumb and wet your pants and sob and cry like a little biatch and all that stuff, or you can man up, right? Right? Take the horse by the reins and let's go, baby. Let's go, right? And so apparently Banks is hiding in the corner, sucking his thumb, wetting his pants, right? Does the player ever feel responsible for people losing their jobs? So whoever, I was with Jerome Henderson, lost their jobs because Banks, right? And kind of, I guess the staffer was pointing that out. Does Banks, it's like Jerome Henderson actually lost his job because of Banks. Jerome Henderson was with the Giants for a while, and Jerome Henderson couldn't get this guy, right, to perform at his highest level and all that. And because of that, they didn't get rid of Banks to get rid of the coach. And it doesn't, according to the staffer, doesn't seem like Banks really gives a hoot and toot, flaming flying. If you see a about it. Right? Somebody lost their job because of you. You need to grow up. Let's see. The Giants staffer asked, per Jason Lockenfora of the Washington Post, a lot of people got burned by him. The kid really needs to grow up. That's a shame because Jerome Henderson was highly regarded. What should the Giants do with Banks? Giants' situation with Banks is obviously less than ideal, but they'll still have time to figure out what to do with him. The hope is that his competition with Flat will light a fire underneath him. And while that hasn't happened yet, he could show up once the real games start. The question is whether or not he will do enough to earn snaps over Flat. New York has to make a decision on Banks' fifth-year option at the end of this season. Do they pick it up or do they not? Now, let's not forget, right? In last season, right, they picked up Tibbs' fifth-year option, but they declined Neal's fifth-year option. So they have to think about what they're going to do with Banks here. So it's a big year for him, for Banks, big year for Flat. So you kind of hoping that, Flat, when Flat's on the field, he's going to, you don't have to worry about Flat. He's going to do as best as he possibly can. It's just think Flat's such a freaking beanpole, you hope the guy doesn't get injured, right? And if Flat plays well enough, right, they might decline Banks' fifth-year option, okay, and they might try to re-sign Flat, keep him back here for next year. As I said, Flat's not going to command $15 million a season, but, he's going to want to get a little paid. He's going to want to get something. So let's see if the Giants want to bring him back or not. I'd hate to draft a good, talented cornerback and wind up letting him go, keeping Banks and letting Flat go. Right? I mean, Flat's been there for 4 years, but so far things haven't worked out for Banks with the Giants, and he could find himself out of a starting job if he doesn't perform well to begin the new year. So it's the thing is, obviously, it's all obviously, it's on him. Does it light a fire underneath him or not? I mean, he had some glimpses last year where they pulled him out of the game and this, that, and the other thing, and seemed to maybe light a little fire under him. But it just, I don't know. It just, maybe the new secondary coach can get something out of him, right? It seems like you can do a little pep talking and get a little something going on, it's a little fire, and then it just seems to simmer out. And then it seems like you have to keep, for whatever reason, like, dude, come on, let's go. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Yeah, we're playing football. Yeah, okay. Not supposed to be that way. You get a little pep talk, once a year or a couple of times or something, whatever. But, the guys are losing their job because of you. If you need pep talks every week and stuff like that, could be just another failed first-round cornerback pick by the New York Football Giants. We should have our, let's say with Baker, right? 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. This would be a seventh season. If Baker would what was legit, right? I don't know what other cornerbacks there were at that point in time in the draft, in the 2019 draft. I don't know. Was there one better than Baker? Don't know. But, if Baker was all that in a bag of Doritos, we could have Baker on one side, right? We could have Banks on the other side. We should have our two cornerbacks, and we just draft Phillips. We should be good to go. Right? Third-year cornerback. Right, a seventh-year cornerback, and then Phillips would be a second year. Right, all right, here we go. And you look, if Eli Apple wasn't a worthless piece of human trash, he might still be in the league. Who knows, right? But you figure since 2016, the last 10 drafts, right, we've drafted 3 cornerbacks in the first round, and 2 of them sucked. And we're not sure what's going on with Banks. We know Banks can play, but it's up to him. As that one staffer said, he needs to see like 3 ghosts in the middle of the night just to scare the living crap out of him, right? But sometimes that doesn't always work. Now I like this one. I like this one. Kafka will be calling the plays again. I guess I'm sure he'll be up top. And of course, Dave's will be listening in, right? As we know that. But I like it. Because if you think about it, like when we won our 4 Super Bowls, okay, Parcells never called plays, right? He didn't call plays. He wasn't calling defense. He wasn't calling offense. I mean, he was yelling at guys when maybe the plays didn't go right, or defense or the offense. He was yelling at guys, but he wasn't calling plays, right? Coughlin wasn't calling plays, right? There's a lot going on, and when you're worrying about your quarterback, worrying about the plays, about the maybe timeouts going. You got a lot of things that it's tough. It really is tough. Sometimes it's best to step back, right? I mean, Kafka's been here. Was it 4 years? Right? He knows what Dave's wants. Right? They obviously they got meetings. They're going over plays, and he knows what the plays the quarterbacks like to do, and he knows what Dave's wants. Been here for 4 years. He knows, right? So I'm sure he'll add his own little flavor to the play call and all that, but he knows what Dave wants. Plain and simple. There's no secret. So Dave's going to listen in and all that stuff and everything, but I really, really like that a lot. Let Kafka, call some plays. I like that a lot. Head coach Brian Daboll finally admits the obvious. Offensive coordinator Mike Kafka will call plays for the Giants. Now, the Giants head coach Brian Daboll finally admitted on Thursday what has been obvious since OTAs began in the spring. Offensive coordinator Mike Kafka will resume play calling duties this season. Daboll confirmed as much during a brief session with the media. Kafka, in his 4th season as the team's offensive coordinator, was the play caller during the 2022 and 2023 seasons. Daboll assumed that responsibility last season after the Giants went 6-11, and he resumed, and we went 3-14. So after Daboll assumed the responsibility last season, the Giants went 3-14 and were 31st in the league in points scored. Now, to be fair, a lot of injuries. I mean, we had 4 different quarterbacks last year. It was just a total freaking mess. Total mess. Kafka has been calling the offensive plays since the spring. Right? As I said in the video, right, that whatever it was, a week or so ago, the Giant, now obviously, this is preseason. I get it, all that stuff, but the Giants send 11 quarterbacks out. Okay, in the preseason, 10 out of the 11 scored with Kafka calling plays. We didn't have Darius Slayton out there. Some guy by the name of Malik Neighbors wasn't running routes for us. We had guys that didn't even make the team out there running routes, and we scored 10 out of 11 out of the quarterbacks. The first game, against the Bills, we sent out all 4 quarterbacks. All 4 led the team to points. Second game, all 4 quarterbacks went out there. 3 out of the 4 led us to points. Tommy Chicken Cutler Parmesan, I think we were in field goal range. Threw a pass. It was a little short. I can't remember. I can't remember. I think it was a tight end in the end zone. He threw the ball short. It bounced off a Jet guy. He didn't even pick it off. It bounced and ricocheted sideways. There was another Jet there. Kudos to the Jets. I said the same thing in my video. Get players to the ball. Good things can happen. That's what happened with the Jets. They had 2 guys there. Okay, the ball bounced off the helmet or the shoulder pad or whatever the heck it was of the one Jet. Went almost sideways, and another Jet was standing there. Just happened to pick it off. But we were in field goal range. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. I get it. But if, that pass, if he throws it over the guy's head or falls incomplete, that ball could have bounced 35 trillion ways where it wouldn't have been picked off. It pretty much bounced off of a guy one way right to the Jet guy standing there. But if that fell incomplete, quite possibly we kick a field goal and we would have gone 11 for 11. So the first preseason game, all 4 quarterbacks went out there, all 4 scored points. Second preseason game, all 4 quarterbacks went out there, 3 out of the 4 led us to points. Final preseason game. I guess Tommy Chicken Cutlet Parmesan made up for himself. He got a hat trick against the Patriots, but 3 quarterbacks out there, all 3 led us to points. Okay, with backup offensive linemen out there going up against backup players for the other team. I get it, but we got guys running routes that aren't on the team anymore. And we're putting up points, and Kafka was calling those plays. Right, so Kafka's been calling the offensive plays since the spring. Daboll has spent considerable time with rookie Jackson Dart, which is huge as well too, because I don't want to say that Dart this season has to show something or Daboll's going to lose his job, but Daboll's out there, right? Spent a lot of time with Dart, a lot of time with him, right? He knows the future of this franchise is Dart, and if Daboll's around next season, there's a good chance Dart's going to start, maybe full-time, maybe next season. And that's when we're off and running with the Dart experience, right? How it was with Eli, right? It was at the final 6 games of the season. We pulled the plug in 2004. We put Eli in there, right? But somewhere along the line, we're going to be putting Dart out there. And but Daboll's been spending a lot of time with Dart. Right? Kafka tried not to make too much of the change when he spoke to media on Thursday. He said, I haven't really had a whole bunch of time to think about that, Kafka said. I just been thinking about the players, thinking about the guys and how we can make them great, thinking about our coaches and the coaching staff and how I can help them and be a servant to them, how we can make this organization better and how I can make our offense better. That's really been my focus. Then, obviously all hands on deck for Washington this week. Kafka's only 38, man. Whew. He's had interviews for head coaching vacancies in the offseason since becoming the Giants' offensive coordinator in 2022. Somewhere along the line, he's going to get a chance. Mike's done a great job this preseason. Daboll said on Wednesday he's done a good job with the staff, got a lot of confidence in Mike and the offensive staff. Up to this point, relative to all the preseason games and the meetings we've had, I've been very pleased with the offensive staff. The difference is it's definitely quieter up there in the press box, and you can see the field a lot, like the width of it. You see everybody, Kafka said. When you're down on the field, you trust the eyes upstairs to make sure you say, hey, check out the backside corner on this play. Check out what the safety's doing. You can verify it via the pictures and stuff like that. But, it's just probably more dialogue upstairs saying, hey, check this out. My eyes are over there. Your eyes are over here, Just the communication with the staff is probably a little bit quicker because they're working to do their job. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to whether it's better to be on the field or in the press box, but it was good to be on the sideline, Kafka said. It's always fun to be right there with the players and see it eye to eye and communicate with them more directly. You can do certain elements up in the box, but there's really no substitute for being on the field. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see, when I want to put him at, right? I mean, he was up top. So, I mean, there's good points and bad points and everything. I mean, I definitely without question, would like to be up top. I can see everything, what the defense is doing, the whole field and all that, but we'll have to wait and see. But, let's not forget, as bad as things were in 2023, we did kind of go to the playoffs in 2022. Now, obviously, we didn't have no superstar wide receivers. Andrew Thomas was healthy that season. Wink, wink, hint, hint, right? So that's huge. But, we had Daniel Jones and we had Saquon Barkley, and we went to the playoffs. Isaiah Hodgins was like a hero for us toward the end of the season, all that, right? We wound up 9-7-1 somehow. Mike Kafka was calling plays with Daniel Jones. So, right? Let's see what he can. Because he wasn't calling plays last season with Malik Neighbors, right? Daboll was, and we won 3 games. So let's see what Kafka can do. But unfortunately, same thing with Brandon Brown. To me, he just seems like a future GM walking. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of time. The guy really, seems to really have it up there. And, he was with the Eagles. Now he's with the Giants. He got himself a lot of experience, smart and all that and everything. he's going to get his opportunity somewhere along the line. And same thing with Kafka. I really think Kafka is going to get, sooner or later, he's going to get a head coaching job somewhere along the line. If Thomas misses significant amounts of time this year, can he be considered to be a bust? Tom, that's so tough. I mean, because it's the damn injuries. It's like, the thing is, can he ever stay healthy ever again? You don't know. I mean, what was it, 2 years ago, after the first freaking drive of the season, we had the blocked field goal. He turned around, tried to tackle the guy. He was never going to tackle the guy, but he pulls his hamstring. Right, that whole season, almost the whole season, he had issues. Then last season, he missed was it the sixth game? I think he got injured. Right, he may not even start this season. So it's hard, what you consider a bust. I mean, when he's healthy, he's one of the top 5 probably left tackles in the league. 5, right? But he can't stay healthy. So, I mean, I don't even know if he can ever stay healthy ever again. We'll have to wait and see. I hope he can, right? Can he come back from this injury? Hopefully play some, if not this week, against the Cowboys or the Chiefs, one of his first 3 or 4 games, start, and then just play the rest of the season and not be injured. So it's tough. I mean, you can certainly call him, if you want to call him, because of the injuries, but I mean, it's just annoying because we finally got a really good freaking tackle. You just get so sick and tired of, the Giants need an edge rusher. We need an edge rusher. And then we finally get it, the Giants need a left tackle. We need a tackle. We need a tackle. We finally get a tackle, and then it's like, so we got a tackle, and then he keeps getting injured. It's tough, man. It's really, really tough. I hope the guy, once he gets on the field, boy, I'll tell you what, I really hope, he's just off and running, because then that's why you don't want to put him out there too early either. So that's a tough situation. But speaking of Andrew Thomas, now I think the Giants were, they were like $8 million or something or whatever it was, like over the cap, and of course that's a no-no. So. There's only so many guys that they can turn to restructure some guys' money, like Brian Burns could be one of them. Andrew Thomas could be one of them, which they did. Maybe Sexy Dexy. Some of the guys, with bigger contracts, obviously, you can restructure. Brian Burns certainly would be a great candidate for this as well, too. But they did do Andrew Thomas's contract, and it was $12.2 million, baby, that they got, right? But I mean, they were only like about $2.5 or $3 million under the cap now, so they don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of space. It's just not like they can go out and just start bringing guys in left and right. That may not even be enough money to get them to the end of the season. So he might somewhere along the line, Shane might have to work his magic and maybe restructure another contract or whatever. But as of right now, I think what it does is, from the 2026 season, I think it says in this article, from the 2026 season to the 2029 season, 26, 27, 28, 29, those 4 seasons, it adds $3 million to Thomas's cap hit. So, I mean, that's in today's day and age, that's not a whole heck of a lot. But the Giants needed to do something to get under the cap. So the Giants have begun work cleaning up their salary cap ahead of the 2025 regular season by making a big move. And then usually the thing is, it's nice because it's like they make it where it's like a sign-in bonus or something. So it's like, they free up some space, but basically they're taking the money that they owe the guy and they're giving it to him now. Here, I'm not turning that down, right? So it's a win-win for everybody. The guy gets his money now, right? So he's happy, or some of his money now instead of waiting for it. And the team frees up and gets some more cap space. So it's a win-win for everybody. Giants, who are listed in last place with a minus $9.59 million in cap space per over the cap, minus. So they're like $9.5 million to the minus. per over the cap have restructured left tackle Andrew Thomas's contract to open up $12.2 million in cap space, according to ESPN's Field Yates. The Giants are now under the league cap by approximately $2.59 million, so about $2.6 million they have in cap space. And that may not be enough to get them through the season, right? Especially as a season, because the season's so freaking long. You start getting injuries. Guys are on the practice squad. You got to call them up. You got to bring them down. You call them back up. So after a while, I think you call them up 3 times. I think they have to remain on the active roster. So it costs some money to bring guys up. So let's see. So with another restructuring of a different player contract likely on deck to give the team further breathing room to get through the season. So that might be Burnsy, possibly, but Thomas was due to earn a full guaranteed base salary of $16.4 million before the restructure. He also stood to earn approximately $58,823 per game, up to $1 million for the season for each week he's on the active roster. So his total cap hit before the restructure came in at $21.087 million, the second highest on the team behind defensive lineman Sexy Dexy. Thomas's current deal runs through the 2029 season. Before the restructure, his prorated money had run out in 2028, the total being just $835,000 against the 2028 cap. With the restructure, which can be prorated up to 5 years or the remaining life of the contract, whichever is longer, Thomas will now have prorated money in 2029, counting against the Giants' books. He'll have roughly $3.046 million added to his annual cap hit, and his 2025 cap number drops to $8.093 million. Other contracts the Giants could potentially adjust to gain more cap space include John Runyon Jr., who's making $9 million, Daniel Bellinger, who's making $3.4 million, defensive lineman Rakeem Nunez-Roches, $3.65 million, and kicker Graham Gano, who's making $4.4 million. So, I mean, that's just some of the guys that the Giants can, let me see if I can find this here. Some of the guys that the Giants can restructure. Let's see, share screen. I got it up here somewhere, the Giants salary cap. Once again, I got 342. Giants. Oh, there we go. All right. So now this is Spot Track, because I can wind up reading them. Now, according to Spot Track, you go to over the cap has is at one number, Spot Track has is another number, but according to Spot Track, we're in 29th place, which still stinks. Okay. But we got $2.758 million in cap space. Okay. But you'll notice here, right, how let me exit out of this. There we go. Andrew Thomas is now making $8.9 million. Okay, just this season, right? We got Jermaine Illuminor. So we got a lot of guys around the 10 million mark, right? Runyon's making 11, Adebo's making 11, Wilson's making 11, Kayvon's making about 10, Holland's making about 10, Illuminor 9, Andrew Thomas 9, Dual Carter 8, Evan Neal about 8, Slayton's making about 7, Burns eats 17.7, of course Sexy 23.6 million. So we got a lot of big bangers there. But the one thing is quite possibly after the season's over with, possibly Russell Wilson, this drops off. Okay. So let's say, I like this. There we go. Go right to 2026. Now the Giants won't have a ton of money. Right. See, now, once again, Shane can obviously free up some money without question next season, to get some more, right? We might maybe make some cuts, free up a little bit more money. Who knows? But, so right here, we only got about $30 million, which isn't a lot. But if you look in 2027, okay, now, of course, this doesn't include Evan Neal. Kayvon won't be on this list here either. But if you look in 2027, right, the Giants can, right, this is possibly what they're thinking about, right, as far as what they think quite possibly the salary cap might wind up escalating to. Okay. The Giants have no money as of right now, dead cap money in 2 years, 2027. But, according to what they project, it could be it could be less than this, could actually be even more than this. But as of right now, Giants have about $175 million. Now, of course, this doesn't include the 2026 draft class. This won't include the 2027 draft class, which we need to sign as well, too, right? But we got a quarterback on the roster. We can bring in a couple backups that are cheap, right? And I've said this does include Kayvon, right? So Evan Neal's not on this list, what I mean. But 2 years, we have a lot of money to spend. A lot of money. We can obviously I'm not sure who's going to be here. Is Daboll still going to be here? Is Shane going to be here? Who knows, right? But in 2 years, we have a lot of money to spend. A lot. And the nice thing about it, right, is that'll be Dart's third season, right? It'll be his third season, it'll be his fourth season, if he's any good. Of course, you pick up his fifth-year option, which is going to cost some money, but it won't be $70 million a year either. Okay, so in 2 years, what you saw in that chart, we'll have around $175 million to spend. Okay, and we still have our quarterback for 3 more years. That's the time when it's time to start building the team around him. Right before you want to dishing out the big bucks for him, and then you got to start waving some guys bye because we can't afford you anymore because we're paying our star quarterback $60 million a year, so we got to wave some guys bye. But it is what it is. But that was something that was definitely coming without a question, because we were we needed to do something to free up some money. And so there's still some more guys on the list that we can certainly take their contracts and save some money with. But we got $2 or $3 million right now. Probably not going to get us through the rest of the season, but we'll see how far it goes. All right, now this was something like the media was like going all kinds of crazy about and everything like that. Who's quarterback number 2? And of course then the Giants. It was like kind of like the unofficial depth chart they released, and of course they got Jackson Dart listed as the quarterback number 2, and all kinds of speculations, kind of oh my God, coming out and everything. But so as of right now on the chart, right. The depth chart, official depth chart, they got Dart is quarterback number 2. Now, interesting that because the media they're all asking all kinds of questions, and it's really kind of funny because they ask questions and Daboll doesn't answer them, right? Like they'll ask, who's in charge of the scout team? Who's doing a scout team? The quarterback for the other team. Right, who runs the other team's offense in practice? Daboll doesn't answer. Basically, doesn't answer the question. Also, Jameson Winston and Jackson Dart were not allowed to talk to the media this week. I mean, the Giants the media wanted to talk to them because it's a big thing. Who's quarterback number 2? Is there going to be a package? Is Dart quarterback number 2? Is there going to be a package? Is Dart going to go in? Is he going to who's running the scout team and all that? But they were not allowed to talk to the media this week. So, but the Giants got the depth chart. Jackson Dart listed as quarterback number 2. So it's going to be interesting to see. Right, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what the Giants wind up doing. Like, do they dress all 3 quarterbacks? Do they dress all 3? Do they have 2? They dress 2. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Wilson and Dart? Is Winston going to be emergency quarterback number 3? Or are they all going to be dressed? Interesting. So the Giants head coach Brian Daboll demurred on Monday when asked whether rookie Jackson Dart or veteran Jameson Winston would be quarterback number 2 for the team's season opening game on Sunday against the Commanders. On Tuesday, the Giants listed Dart as quarterback number 2 ahead of Winston on their unofficial Week 1 depth chart. Once again, it's unofficial. Giants have been consistent that Russell Wilson will open the season as their starting quarterback. Absolutely. Dart selected number 25 in the draft, and Winston signed in free agency, split second and third team reps during training camp. As the summer progressed, most of those went to Dart. Should we read into this that Dart will be active as the backup quarterback on Sunday and Winston inactive as the emergency third quarterback, or do they all get dressed? Any roster decisions based on who's going to be in the backup or who this player is going to be will have to be out there on Sunday, Daboll said on Monday. Other depth chart takeaways. Greg Van Roten is listed as the starting right guard with Evan Neal as right guard number 2. That was expected. So basically, you're not going to have probably the exact 5 out there that we had last season to start the season, because obviously possibly Thomas, but you're looking at Runyon, right? You're looking at Michael Schmitz, you're looking at Greg Van Roten, you're looking at Illuminor. So 4 of the 5 are expected to be out there, right, for Week 1. Now, well, Thomas doesn't seem like it at this particular point in time, but who knows? But as I said, if not, look for possibly Hudson to be the starting left tackle. Giants are not tipping their hand at cornerback, listening to Deontay Banks and Cordell Flott as co-starters opposite Paulson and Debo. Now, that's going to be interesting to see, too. Very interesting. When I got the TV on, it's going to be, who's going to, where's the Debo, right? Is he following anybody? And who's going to be the other cornerback on the field, right? Hopefully the announcers will say that. I know if I'm listening to the radio, right, if I'm listening to the fan or whatever, and Bob Papa's, I can't get him down here. But if I'm listening to Bob Papa, he'll tell you who's on the field for the Giants. Banks off the field. Flott just came on the field. Giants got their nickel. I mean, Papa will tell you that. You're not going to so much get that from a national broadcast all the time. A number 3 overall pick, Carter, is listed as a backup outside linebacker, right? So the quarterbacks got Russell Wilson, Jackson Dart, and Jameson Winston. Running back, Tyrone Tracy Jr., Devin Singletary, Cam Scatterbill. Interesting. Scatterbill's number 3. Tight ends, Theo Johnson, Daniel Bellinger, Chris Manhertz, and Thomas Fedoni. Wide receivers, you got Malik Neighbors, and Bo Collins is his backup. Of course, wide receivers, you got Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt. This is backup. Then in the slot, you got Wando Robinson, and you got Gunnar Olszewski. They're your 6 wide receivers. Left tackle, you got Andrew Thomas, right? And then James Hudson is his backup. So if Thomas can't go, Hudson's going to go in there. Left guard, you got Runyon Jr., Aaron Stinney, and Jake Kubas. Center, you got John Michael Schmitz, Austin Schlottman. Right guard, you got Greg Van Roten and Evan Neal. And then right tackle, you got Jermaine Illuminor and Marcus Bowe. So, interesting. It's going to be interesting because if Andrew Thomas can't go, right, you slide Hudson up there to left tackle. Where and when does Bowe come in? Like maybe the jumbo package, right? Who are they going to have? If they got the 5, right? If they like a short yardage kind of thing, do they bring Neal in as a 6th offensive lineman? Do they bring Bowe in as a 6th offensive lineman? Or do they just say, we're going to put Manhertz in there as 6? If they got 7 guys up there, do they Manhertz, right? They got the 5 plus Manhertz. Who's the other guy to bring in there? Right. On the defense, defensive ends, they got Kayvon and Chauncey Golston is his backup. Outside linebacker, basically this is kind of the same thing as what Kayvon is, but the outside linebacker, they got Burns and Abdul Carter. Nose tackle, they got Dexter Lawrence and DJ Davidson, who's bulked up quite a bit. He ain't nowhere near as big as Sexy Dexy, but he's gotten bigger. Defensive tackle, they got Nacho, Roy Robertson Harris, and Darius Alexander. Inside linebackers, they got Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden, but behind Bobby Okereke, you got Darius Murasow and Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, and Chris Board is behind Micah McFadden. Now, Chris Board obviously is huge for special teams. The nickel corners, Drew Phillips, Nick Jones is his backup. Cornerback, you got Paulson and Daboll, and Art Green is his backup. The other cornerback is Cordell Flott / Deontay Banks, and then Art Green is his backup. So Art Green, okay, is the backup. Well, I don't want to say backup for both because the one cornerback number 2, you got Cordell Flott and Deontay Banks. You got those two guys. But Art Green, is basically the backup for almost for both sides, it seems like. Then we got safeties. You got Tyler Nubin, Javon Holland, and of course you got Dane Belton is a backup. And you got Bo Braid is the other backup. So we got 4 safeties. Special teams we got, right? Long snapper Casey Kreider. The holder is Jamie Gillen. The punter is Jamie Gillen. Place kicker is Graham Gano. Punt returner is Gunnar Olszewski. And his backup, apparently, is Wando Robinson. It's all unofficial now, right? Kick returner, Gunnar Olszewski. Devin Singletary, Wando Robinson, and Tyrone Tracy. So we got 2 running backs are the kick returners. Now, obviously, it seems like if they got 2 kick returners back there, right, it looks like possibly we're talking Gunnar Olszewski, Devin Singletary. But, I mean, if something were to happen or whatever, they added 4 kickoff returners they got listed here. 2 of them are running backs. But, of course, neither one is Eric Gray. And that guy, it was not a very good, they tried him back there. He just didn't pan out at all. But so Jackson Dart can be very, very interesting. Listen to Big Blue Kickoff Live Monday through Friday. I try to listen to them every day. And Bob Papa was quite adamant. He really seemed to think there's quite possibly, right? He might have, Daboll might have a package or so or whatever. He wouldn't rule it out for Mr. Dart, right? Putting him in there, for whatever, a play or 2, right? So, if Dart gets put in there, for a play here or a couple plays there, whatever like that, don't be overly surprised because Bob Papa seems to think that that's a possibility. Now, one of the things that also that Dave's was kind of, he wants to keep everybody, especially in the preseason, he wants to keep everybody on their toes, right? Like all of a sudden, the game's going along, Russell Wilson's in there, and all of a sudden, boom, he pulls Russell Wilson in. Pulls him out of the game, puts Jackson Dart in there for one play, pulls Jackson Dart back in there, puts him, right? There was another play where all of a sudden Dart was in there, I think it was, and apparently the headset went out, which is a total crock of crap. But apparently so it was just like, so he's trying to make everybody stay on their toes. Well, that could also be said possibly for the other team, right? How they're kind of like, we know Russell Wilson, we know what he does. We're prepared for Russell Wilson. We're prepared. And all of a sudden, Daboll sends Jackson Dart out there for a couple plays, right? Not only so much keeps his own players on their toes, but also keeps the other team on their toes as well, too. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see. All right. Now, got a little bit of a preview here. Now, of course, this was last year, Mr. Malik and his buddy over here, right, talking things up, right, before the game. Now, Malik did warn his buddy here, his former LSU teammate, that kind of warned him about Mr. Katia, right? Better keep his eye out for him. And I can't wait to see those guys on the field. The thing is that when it gets to be 3rd down, obviously you want to get the sack, but the biggest thing, get the off the field. Nothing more demoralizing than having Jaden Daniels run back there. Maybe he got all his guys covered. Right? He's got some nice weapons, right? But if you can get him where he has to pull the ball down or he can't throw it well like that. So if you don't get it, but don't have him. If it's 3rd down and 7, don't have him tuck it. Runs, slides, gets 8 yards, 1st down. Man, that's freaking demoralizing. If you can't sack him, at least keep him in the pocket, keep him contained. right? So, I mean, nothing more demoralizing. But the Giants, we got a heck of a lot to talk about. What to expect when the Giants have the ball? Can the Giants offense hit the ground running against the Commanders? Now, the Giants obviously have struggled big time. Obviously, we know the past couple of seasons. The Redskins don't have it. Their defense, especially their defensive front, is not quite what it used to be. It's not. I mean, they got Wagner. They got some good players, but it's not, as I said before, it's not where they have that Fab Four, those four guys on the defensive front where they were all first-round selections, right? They've come and gone. This is where the rubber meets the road, and Brian Daboll, Mike Kafka, and the Giants franchise as a whole. The Giants fielded one of the worst offenses in football over the last 2 seasons, averaging 15.6 points per game in 2023 and 16 points per game last year. For some context, the NFL's 17-game average was 21.7 points scored in 2023 and 23 points scored in 2024. So there were 7 points. They were basically a touchdown below average last year. That was one of the things that just, you have a hard time scoring points. And I keep talking about Saquon. But the Giants, and they're still one. That's easy to say. They're still one superstar away on offense. It really helps to have 2 guys, right? That the defensive coordinator is staying up at night, pulling his hair out, right? Like me, right? Hey, we got Malik. I ain't complaining. I'll take Malik 10 ways to Tuesday. I'm so happy we got him, right? But you really need somebody else. The thing is just that it was just, you had a bona fide star. If you could have thrown $15 million, Micah Parsons is getting $47 million. Yeah, he's getting more at the. I know the Eagles bumped up Saquon's salary, but I'm saying, but last year he's got about 14 or 15 million. So Micah Parsons right now is making more than 3 times the amount of money Saquon was. And you couldn't come up with $15 million. I mean, and he was a star. He was a weapon. 15 million. I'm not saying we're trying to. We had a disgruntled wide receiver who wanted $50 million a year. It's like, all right, thanks for playing. Thanks for shopping at Kmart. We'll see you later, brother. Go get him, pal. It was a running back. He wanted $15 million a year. And he was a star. It wasn't like Motor Singletary wants $15 million or something. It was, Saquon. So we still need, obviously we still need another star. But anyway. For their part, the Giants are over to make some significant steps forward in their offensive performance and perhaps play with a more aggressive philosophy than they have in the past. So what can we expect from the Giants offense when they have the ball? Oh, boy. We won't know how or how much the Giants will change their offense with Wilson at quarterback. It's probably safe to assume that the bones of the offense will remain in place with the usual RPO and West Coast quick game concept to keep the chains moving. Now, one of the things that Daboll was trying to do with Wilson was because he takes care of the ball. He's not going to throw the ball in harm's way a lot. He doesn't throw interceptions. He takes sacks, though. So one of the things that you'll notice, some of it, especially I think was a lot, was in that Buffalo game when Wilson was in there early on. A lot of it was just quick stuff. Boom, boom, get the ball out of your hands. Quick stuff. I don't want you standing in it. Of course, it's preseason, so we don't want the guy standing in the pocket for an hour and a half looking, and just waiting to get hit. You know what I mean? So just get the ball out of your hands. So it's going to be interesting to see. Wilson executed both quick game passes and vertical passes well in the preseason. He quickly navigated the read progressions while also being decisive and accurate down the field. One of the big highlights of the preseason was Wilson's 80-yard pass to Bo Collins. I still can't believe the guy got tackled from behind. But It was a beautiful pass. Beautiful pass. The Giants largely neglected the intermediate deep area of the field last year and seem to be betting that a stronger vertical passing game will open up the rest of the offense. If you can get passes down the field to all, the middle, the bolts, and open, it was you just dinking and dunking and dinking and dunking, and that's all you do. The defense just starts coming up and coming up. If you don't take any shots down the field or good shots down the field, it's like, right, why are the safeties going to be 20, 30 yards back? Why? They ain't throwing the ball down deep. Right? We ain't going to worry about that. Right? So if you can hit a couple big ones, it opens up everything. Going to be discipline and protection. The first question brought up with regards to the Giants' offense is, unsurprisingly, their offensive line. The overarching issue is the uncertainty of Andrew Thomas's health. He was activated off the PUP list before the final cutdowns as he's been participating in practice. That said, we haven't heard for sure as of this Friday whether he'll be able to start against the Commanders. The offensive line can play to the same level they were at prior to Thomas's injury. The protection should be fine in most cases. The question then becomes how well they deal with stunts, twists, and blitzes, which has been one of the problems. Now, which is also Dan Quinn, who's with the Commanders, right? When he was the defensive coordinator with the Cowboys, they ate the Giants up with the stunts and the twists, and they just killed the Giants. That's probably going to be what Dan Quinn's going to be dialing up this week here. Now, let's not forget that when the Giants, their first 5 games of the season, when they had all 5 the same offensive linemen, the first 5 games of the season, the Giants were 2-3. And one of those losses were to those Commanders when we didn't have a kicker. Had we had a kicker, we quite possibly would have beaten the Commanders in Washington. We possibly with Andrew Thomas and the other 4 guys on this offensive line, we could have started the season 3-2. Once Thomas got hurt in week 6, the wheels fell off, and obviously the rest is what they say, history. Right? The Giants will need their protection to play with discipline in order to give Russell Wilson the time to attack the vulnerable intermediate deep areas of the field. He likes to roll out, right? He's not quite the athlete he used to be. He does take sacks, so the better, the Giants can pass protect, the better. Can the Giants pick on Trey Amos? Right? The presence of rookie cornerback Trey Amos stands out in the Commanders' depth chart. He'll be starting opposite Marshawn Lattimore, which could be significant for a couple reasons. First and foremost, he's a rookie and will likely be matched up against either Malik Neighbors or Darius Slayton. And while Amos was experienced at the collegiate level and was one of the best corners in the SEC last year, he is still a rookie in his first real NFL action. He has good size and long speed, but has some hip stiffness as well as tendency to either get it grabby at the top of the routes or give up unnecessary separation. So play the numbers game. As it stands now, we don't know how pass or run heavy the Giants' offense will be in 2025. Well, a lot of that also depends upon, are we in any games? Are we down 21-3 halfway through the third quarter when you can't try to run the ball? You have to pass the ball, right? We can infer from how they renovated the quarterback room and learn into deep ball passers that they'll want to throw more this year than in previous years, but we won't know for sure until the games are played. If the Giants, are up, say 24-10 in the fourth quarter, they can kind of dictate what they want to do. They want to run, they want to pass. Well, if they're down 24-10 with whatever, half the fourth quarter left to go, you really can't run the ball too much, It may be a bit of a concern that the Giants struggled to run the ball in the preseason, which was an issue. The first game, their average. Dart was the leading ground gainer for the Giants against the Bills. I think the running backs averaged like 2 yards a carry. It was not good at all. The Giants they didn't create much movement up front or did so with any kind of consistency. The flip side is that Washington's run defense was simply bad last year. They were worse, in fact, than the Giants' run defense by pretty much every metric. Washington gave up 4.8 yards per carry on 490 attempts, which was 4th worst. Let's see. They will likely try to load the box against the Giants, leaning into their single high coverage shells until the Giants force them to play two deep safeties. Let's see. A combination of box counts, simply counting how many defenders are in the tackle box to see if it's light, neutral, or heavy to determine whether to run or throw, as well as using pulling linemen could help the Giants find success on the ground. Giants might not be able to simply drive their defense off the ball and create holes up front, but scheming a numbers advantage on the play side can put the Washington defense in a bad position. They struggle to get off blocks or tackles effectively in preseason, and forcing them to flow laterally was an effective tactic. Likewise, Dan Quinn has done a good job of coaching his players to swarm to the football, but that can be used against the team with effective Mr. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Without question. All right. 5 things you need to know about Week 1, all-time series. New York and Washington have met 186 times, and the Giants lead the all-time series 108-73 with 5 ties. The longtime rivals have met in the postseason twice, with each team winning 1 game. New York and Washington first played all the way back in 1932 when the Commanders were called the Boston Braves. And a little side note, it wasn't the Boston Braves, it was the Boston Redskins in 1936. 1936 was the only time that the home team actually gave up home field advantage in the championship game. Because in the even years, it was the Giants division, right, had the home field advantage. And the Redskins and the Giants were in the same division, right, in the even years, 34, 36, 38, 40, blah, 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 blah. While the Boston Redskins, 1936, won the division. The Giants came in second, I believe. But because the following season in 1937, the Boston Redskins became the Washington Redskins because they played in Fenway Park. They couldn't get a lot of fans there. They had a hard time getting fans. And in the championship game, you want to win a championship game, but also back then it was all about the money too. It depended upon how many fans came in. Paying fans went to the stands. Also, it's dependent upon how much money the teams got. So if you only had a couple thousand people in the stands, the winning and losing team, they didn't get a lot of money. And back then, they wanted to win a championship, but they were about money back then. It was a lot about money back then. So what the Redskins did, the Boston Redskins did, they gave up the home field advantage, and they moved the game to the Polo Grounds where more fans showed up. There wasn't a ton of fans. I think it might have been like 20,000, somewhere around there. Wasn't a ton of fans to see the 1936 championship game, but it was played in the Polo Grounds. Should have been played at Fenway Park. But the Redskins gave up home field advantage. So the Green Bay Packers and the Boston Redskins played a 1936 championship game at the Polo Grounds, where the Packers wound up winning anyway. But let's see. The Commanders won both games last year, each by 1 possession. Week 2, the Commanders won 21-18, but didn't score a touchdown. The kicker booted 7 field goals to give the Commanders the win. The Giants were on the verge of winning the game, but rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors dropped a crucial pass that would have given them the first down, giving Washington another chance. So the ball hits him right in the chest, and he drops the ball. Week 9, Washington rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels was completed 15 out of 22 passes, 209 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and also rushed for 35 yards. Commanders won 27-22. The Commanders made history in 2024. Their willingness to go for it on 4th down was apparent. Their 4th down conversion rate was 87%, best in NFL history. Wow. Better than Philly in short yardage. With that, of course, the Phillies, and the only way the Eagles can get it, they have to do the tush push. If they can't do the tush push, they can't get a 4th down conversion because they suck. All right. Washington's 4th down success was historic, and many believe it's a pace that can't be sustained in 2025. Now, also one thing, too, was that, with the Commanders, they were pointing this out, too, on Big Blue Kickoff Live as well, too. John Schmelk was talking about comparing the Commanders from last year to what the Giants were in, like, 2022. Now, like the Giants in 2022, anytime it was a close game, the Giants managed to pull it out. A lot of things went the Commanders' way last season. Close games, fourth down conversions, they made it. They always seem to find a way in those close, and it's very difficult year in and year out to win whatever 9 out of 10 one-score games. It's very, very difficult, right? But that's what the Giants were able to do in 2022, and they parlayed that into, the playoffs, right? 2022. Well, same thing with the Commanders last year. That a lot of things went their way, right? Things start, evening out, right? So, the chance, they're not saying they're going to have a horrible team, but there's a chance they may not make it back to the NFC Championship game, So we'll have to wait and see. But a lot of things did go their way last year, but there's no denying Jaden Daniels is a very nice quarterback. But you can also say, right, right? Hard knocks. Yeah, you can blame, Shane. You can blame the Lucky Charms leprechaun. You can blame Santa Claus, Shane, whoever you want for letting Saquon go. I get it, but if you also listened in there, right? If you listen, right? Shane did ask Daboll, would you trade up for Jaden Daniels? And Daboll's like, oh yeah, right. So they wanted Daniels, right? So they were right about him. Hopefully they're right about Dart too, but they did want Daniels. But there was no way. The Giants were not going to trade up with the Bears. That was not happening. They had Caleb Williams. They were not trading up. They tried with New England. The guy, you heard that on Hard Knocks. The guy, whoever Shane was talking to us at from New England said, I think we're going to stay put. There was no way the Commanders were going to trade out of position with the Giants. The Giants move up to take the Commanders pick, right, and take Jaden down. That wasn't happening. So Giants tried. Just it takes two to tango. Just because just trade up. Oh yeah, okay, well just trade up and we'll get the good. No, it doesn't work that way. Take two to tango, right? So. And another thing I heard too, which I'm very happy about, is that from what I hear, anyway, I read an article today that apparently the Eagles wanted Micah Parsons. They wanted to trade for Micah Parsons. Could you imagine Micah Parsons on the Eagles, right? But Jerry Jones said, nah, we're good. They want to trade him to you. Right? We have to see the Packers this season, but we only see the Packers once a season, maybe. We have to see the Eagles twice a year, and that's not happening. So thankfully, he didn't trade him, right? But just because the Eagles wanted Micah Parsons didn't mean they were going to get him. Right? Looking back to at least 2000, no team with over 10 fourth down attempts in the season converted 87% or better, except for the 2024 Commanders. Expanding the sample, look at the top performing teams over the last 15 fourth down attempts since 2000. The Saints had 81%. Patriots were 78%. But the Commanders last year, they attempted 23 attempts on fourth down. They converted 87% of them. Wow. Washington was aggressive this offseason, adding veteran help around Jaden Daniels to maximize his rookie contract window. The Commanders traded for 5-time Pro Bowl left tackle Laramie Tunzel, Deebo Samuel, Josh Connolly Jr., Tyler Biotis remains at center. Sam Cosmi is a right guard. Although he will miss the first part of the season as he recovers from off-season knee surgery. Defensively, the Commanders signed Von Miller. He's getting a little up there in age. Addition to former first-round pick Javon Kinlaw. Washington feels Kinlaw's full potential has to be unlocked. The cornerback position looks different too. Marshawn Lattimore is healthy after coming over in a mid-season trade. Trey Amos had a tremendous camp. Veterans Jonathan Jones and Noah, I can't remember the last guy's name, gives the Commanders great depth and versatility. Cornerback. Giants defensive line. Oh, yeah. Giants went out and used top 5 pick on edge rusher Abdul Carter, further improving an already imposing unit. Washington knows all too well how dominant defensive tackle Dorance Dexter Lawrence says. With the Giants now are Carter, Brian Burns, and Kayvon coming off the edge. Thibodeau hasn't been a dominant player, but has enjoyed success against the Commanders. That's true. New York's front seven will be one of the NFL's best in 2025 and a big-time challenge for Washington in Week 1. Absolutely. So, yeah, there's a good chance, some points are going to be put up on the board. Right? Good chance, obviously, for both teams. As I said, Washington has most of their offense are like three or so of them, 3 or 4 of them are okay. They do have like one or so that are going to be a little suspect. But their weapons with Deebo Samuels, they got some weapons. Of course, Jaden Daniels as well too. That, as I said, not only can he throw the ball, but he can run the ball as well too. So, it's going to be a challenge. It should be an interesting game. But I certainly, without question, unless something absolutely unfreaking believably, horrible happens, the Giants should definitely put up some points. Like I said, we put up 22 points against them in our second meeting last year. We put up 18 points without a kicker, right, against them in our first meeting last year. So we should have scored over 20 points. We have a horrible offense last year. We should have put up over 20 points both times against them. So, I think, with Russell Wilson and everybody else pretty much being healthy, hopefully we should be able to put up over 20 points against them too. So should be a good game. Should really be a good game. And finally, now this is just something real fast here. Now, of course, that with that the unofficial depth chart. Now, Scatterbo is listed as running back number 3. Now, I'm kind of wondering, does that have any issue at all? Is his lingering hamstring issues that he's had? Because he was not like, he only played one preseason game from what I remember. He had, I think, 3 carries for like 12 yards. Was not overly impressive by any stretch of imagination. But once again, you're not exactly sure if they were kind of bubble wrapping him, right? The thing is that, let me show you right here, which is, obviously, Tracy getting over it, not even starting to see being the starting running back and getting over 1,000 all-purpose yards with that in offense last year, pretty damn impressive. And you saw, there was a couple of times he had some nice long runs, right? So, the dude, without question, can certainly, pick up, if you give the guy a hole, he can take advantage of it without question. I got to find this here. Oh, there we are, right? But the biggest thing for Tracy, right, when he needs, he really, there's a couple things, right, to either playing or not playing. One of the things, right, is your availability. Are you injured? Are you not injured? Can you stay on the field? If you can stay on the field, right, and give us your all and good performances, well, you're probably going to get some playing time, right? If you're always banged up and injured and all that stuff and everything, and you're on the sideline, you're not going to get a lot of playing time. But so that's one. There are other things. Maybe you have like some, some attitude issues, or maybe with Deonte Banks, he might have a problem. Maybe if he doesn't step up his game, but there's another thing that, they can keep a starting running back on the sideline a decent amount. And, this is going to be something going to be interesting. He's got to clean this up. This is not good at all, right? I think you all know where I'm going to. So we got Mr. Tyrone Tracy here. So he's number 2, right? He's the second line down. We're going to go all the way over. Boom, boom, all the way over here. Let me see this number 5. We're going to go down 2. That's Malik Neighbors. And boom, booyah. 5 fumbles. You want to find a seat on the sideline real quick. You stop taking care of that football, and it doesn't matter what you do. If you can't hold on to the football and you fumble the ball, he better. He's got this. So there's a little bit of history. And the thing is that Obviously, that's not a news flash to the other teams. It's not like, oh my God, I never knew Tracy fumbles the ball. Really? What? No, they know that. They know it. So what do? Right? All right, let's see. You grab them low, you grab them high, and the rest of the other 9 guys come in and just start punching at the ball whenever you can. And so they go after the ball. If you have a hard time, they're going to go after the ball. So I mean, like with Tiki Barber, Tiki had a problem fumbling the ball all the time. Fumble. It doesn't matter how good you are. But finally, held it high and tight up here, right? You get the elbow in here, up high and tight, right? Right. So you whatever he does, he better start taking advantage, or hold on to the football, because let's see. All right, what do we got here? 192 attempts, and what do you have? 38. So what is that? But the best. So we had 230 times he had the ball. Okay, 5 fumbles is way too much. I mean, 1 out of 100. Okay, actually, I mean, you get the elite guys. Elite guys can carry the ball 200-300 times, maybe a fumble, maybe none. Sometimes you get guys that haven't fumbled in maybe in a couple years or whatever. Those are the rare guys. But you want to get at least, I would say, 100 touches, maybe 1 fumble, maybe in 100 touches. You know what I mean? But yeah, he's fumbling the ball out of 235 times. That's like, that's more than 2 fumbles every 100 touches. That's way too much. He needs to clean that up. Really needs to clean that up. Number 5, Devin Singletary. Let's move it over here. Yeah, he had 2 fumbles, but he didn't quite have as many carries or touches. He had 113. And what we got here? And 21. So he had 134. Right. So he had like half. No, not quite. A little more than half. Everybody only had, right? He only had the 2 fumbles. So he did better. Right. Still, that's still maybe a little high. I said like maybe 1 out of every 100. Right. But, as I said, Tyrone Tracy, what do we got here? His longest last year is 45 yards, 4.4 yards a carry, right? What do we got? 7.5 yards. Okay, reception. Okay. Nothing. But, 38 catches, 284 yards. He had a touchdown. Right? He said he granted all 6 touchdowns. But, he wound up with, like, what was it? He had over 1,100 total yards. With this crappy offense, over 1,100 yards, really, really impressive. Okay, as I said, 4.4 yards a carry. Ain't nothing this with a bad offensive line last year. Let's not forget, right? With Tyrone Tracy, okay, he didn't start becoming the main running back until I was like week 5 or week 6. So when the Giants actually had their Fab 5 in there for the first 5 weeks or so, basically Motor Singletary was taking most of the snaps. Once like week 5 or 6 rolled around, then obviously Andrew Thomas got injured, and we had 10 different starting offensive line units throughout the whole year, which I think was either worst or tied for worst in the NFL, and that's just a recipe for disaster. But Tyrone Tracy got all those yards with the rotating offensive line in there. Just imagine what he could do, possibly, right? If we had the same offensive line in there week in and week out, gelling, working as a unit and everything like that. Yeah, Tracy can probably put up some, obviously maybe better numbers than what he did there. But, the one thing is can he hold on to the ball? Can he hold on to the ball? Then the other thing is, who's going to get more carries? Everybody's all excited about Scatterbill, right? I'm excited about him too. But I said, he didn't really, light the world on fire. He only had a couple carries, right? Let's not forget, it's hard to compare Scatterbill to what Saquon did. Different running backs. I get it. Scatterboo's 4th round pick. Saquon Barkley, pick number 2 in the draft, right? Now, if Scatterbill was faster, right, Scatterbill wouldn't have been the 4th round pick. No way. Scatterbill can get caught from behind, right? But one of the things with Scatterbill, right, is can the guy stay healthy? He hasn't been healthy. sometimes it's just so mind-boggling. It's like you seen him in that playoff game against Texas. It seemed like the dude ran the ball 95 times. He was throwing passes, catching passes. I mean, the one guy ripped his helmet off, right? He caught a pass down the sideline, and one dude from Texas tackled him and basically ripped Scadaboo's head off to tackle him. Scadaboo's just running guys over, and it's like, damn, this guy's an army tank. Then he gets to the Giants, and he can't even stay on the practice field. It's like, what's going on here? You know, can he stay healthy, right? Now, in the beginning, you can certainly see, you know, obviously Tracy's probably going to get at least maybe 2/3 of the touches, but don't always forget, right? You know, Motor Singletary. Don't forget about him. He was with Shane, right, and Daboll in Buffalo. Now, also, Motor Singletary is, I still got it up here. Cool. Let me see. I'm trying to think. I can't remember exactly what his cap hit is. Probably like $5 million or so. Oh, $6.2 million. $6.2 million. Now, I know without question the Giants could let him go and they would save a couple $1 million toward the cap. I mean, that's another. But, you know, having a backup running back, paying the dude $6 million, or it goes 6.2 toward the cap this year, and he's a backup. I mean, you know, and they're keeping him. That says something there, right? You know, he's been with Daboll since Buffalo. He's obviously been here for, you know, with the Giants now with Daboll. So there's all that familiarity there. The fact that they're still keeping him, right? And they could let him go, bring in anybody, you know. And bring up Turbo Miller from the practice squad. Let Devin Singletary go, get Turbo Miller here. Save a couple $1 million toward the cap, but because the fact that they still got Devin Singletary tells you something what they think about him. Now, obviously, it's going to be very, very interesting to see. Right now, it's going to be one of those things as the season plays out. Right, you don't know, but in the beginning, obviously, look for Tracy to get probably at least half to 2/3 of the carries. Right, so then you figure whatever out of every 30 carries. You know, Tracy might be out there for, you know, 15 or 16 or 18 of them or so. Then the other 12, you know, look for Singletary and, you know, Scadaboo to get in there. But the thing is, as the season goes along, right, can Tracy protect the ball? Because if he keeps putting it on the ground, you know, I mean, that's something you can work on without question. You know, you can't be running with it out here. You got to, you know, keep it in there. You got to hold it tight because the guys are going to, once they know you start fumbling the ball, they're going to start punching at it, right? And the same with Scadaboo. Can the guy stay healthy, right? I mean, you know, unfortunately, I'm dying to see him on it. You know, I mean, obviously, I want to see, you know, I want to see Dart in there. I want to see Carter. Oh yeah, absolutely. But I'm really dying to see Cam. But you know, can the guy stay healthy? Yeah, he's been very limited in his participation in the preseason. So can he stay healthy? So as the season goes along, we'll find out. Right? Maybe one of the reasons why maybe, you know, Cam might be listed as the third right running back instead of maybe Singletary, maybe because they're trying to kind of bubble wrap him, trying to protect him, don't want to give him too much in the beginning. They don't have to. Well, if we got Tracy who's healthy and we got Motor Singletary, or you know, we'll give the majority to them, and maybe, you know, as the weeks go by, right, we'll give Scadaboo a few carries each game or whatever. But you know, maybe as the weeks go by, maybe he'll start feeling better and better. Maybe his hamstrings or whatever the issue is will start correcting itself, and maybe we can start unleashing him more. But as of right now, it's just a little frustrating because, I mean, when you see the guy get so many carries and all this stuff in college and it doesn't seem like he ever gets hurt. And then he comes here in preseason, he can't stay healthy. But, you know, as I said, look for Tracy because, you know, if you know, obviously we're not talking, you know, Derrick Henry, we're not talking Saquon Barkley, but, you know, he's good quality running back. Good quality. And the nice thing about him, not only that was a running back, but he was also a wide receiver too. So All right, guys. Oh, wow. 1 hour and 55 minutes. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you, thank you, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replay this, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants!